Okay, so the next pattern is about technology. They want the candidate to describe a website that you like to visit. So when did you first find this website? What is it about? How often do you visit it? And why do you like this website? An interesting question. I think a lot of people necessarily don't use a lot of websites nowadays. I think people use a lot of social media rather than websites. So I think it's about being a little bit creative with your answer. So I would just say recently I had to use a recipe website because I wanted to find out how to make kimchi stew, because I accidentally ordered 10 kilos of kimchi off of Coupang and I didn't know what to do with it. So that's the first website that springs to my mind. Do I like to visit it? No, but I remember it clearly in my memory right now. So I can just make up the fact that I visit it every week. So I would say something like, the website I like to visit the most is a Korean cooking website called My Korean Kitchen. I found it by accident when I accidentally ordered too much kimchi off of Coupang, and I didn't know how I'm supposed to eat 10 kilos of kimchi, because I thought it was only going to be 1 kilo of kimchi that was coming, but it was 10. And so I found it when I was panicking after I bought all this kimchi and I didn't know what to do. It's a website that teaches foreigners how to cook Korean food. So they have all these traditional Korean recipes in English. And I've been using it every night for the past several weeks because I'm having to eat all this kimchi that I bought. I visit it almost every evening because it has a really cool feature where I can type in what ingredients I have left over in my refrigerator, and then it gives me a good suggestion for something I can make using the ingredients that I have. So I can just open my fridge when I get in from work and just see what I fancy making, and then try a new recipe, which is lots of fun. And I really like it because the instructions are so easy to follow that even me, someone who has always traditionally sucked at cooking and who has never been able to cook successfully, has been able to cook something using this website. Because the recipes are so easy, they come with helpful tutorial videos, and you can click links on all the food. All has hyperlinks on it, so I can click on it and it will show me a picture. So if they ask for a Korean ingredient and I'm not sure what it is, I just press the hyperlink and it will show me a picture. Like I didn't know what the gochugaru chili was, so I could just see a quick picture and then I could just find that on Coupang to order. So you could just describe some of that. So I mean, in reality, like in my real life, I've only ever used that website once, but I was able to use my clear image of that to make up a story to talk about. Okay. So when you get these kind of odd questions where you're like, well, I never use websites because I am only ever on Instagram. That's a good way to sort of, use something that's true and then just sort of expand on it to make it sound impressive. So let's see what this candidate has done.
Well, I'm going to talk about YouTube as one of my favorite websites. So, when I was grade 5, I guess, I was really perplexed to find information regarding humanity at school. So one of my friends recommended me searching searching information via YouTube. So back at the moment, I watch educational videos and even entertaining videos as well, so that I can relieve my stresses and I can find information regarding any topic I want to acquire. So anyway, like when I was young, when I was like elementary school, I watched YouTube almost every day because I had plenty of time. But these days, I don't really have a spare time because I have a bunch of assignments to finish it. So nowadays I only watch once per week, I guess. And the reason why I like YouTube is I'm able to find various contents of videos, such as crime videos or documentary videos or etc. So I can pick, it suits my taste that I can find any information from YouTube, and on by using algorithm, I could watch my favorite. My favorite video as well. Thank you.
Okay, so this candidate was talking about YouTube. I just want to first thing I'm picking on his pronunciation is that I think he was talking about YouTube, but the first time he said it, I don't know why I thought, is he trying to say Google? I don't know why. His pronunciation of YouTube was a little bit unclear to me, so I would want him to practice saying that a little bit. I think it was the T sound. He was putting too much emphasis on the YouTube, and so the second half of the word wasn't very clear. So you want to make sure you've got that clear YouTube. Okay, and to do that, it's not, instead of YouTube, it's YouTube. So it's actually being pronounced with a CH sound, which is annoying, but that's just English. So to do that, YouTube, the ridge behind your teeth, my tongue's on that sort of ridge just behind your teeth. YouTube. My chin has come forward and up. Tube. My lips have gone forward. Tube. Okay, and I'm making that ch sound. YouTube. Okay, May is going to make it much clearer. I think he was doing much more emphasis on the YouTube, and then the second half it wasn't too clear to me, so I'd want him to practice his pronunciation of that. This candidate had this sort of classic feel of someone who I feel has done study abroad or lived overseas, because he's a little bit of a British accent as I was listening. So in terms of pronunciation, other than that, and fluency was reasonably good. But he sounded, in terms of fluency, he was a little bit hesitant, okay? He didn't sound confident giving me his answers, and that's going to reflect badly on your fluency scores. So this to me sounds like a case of he just needs to practice doing more IELTS-style questions, because even for a native speaker, someone like me, I need to practice all the different types of questions that could come up, because part of the IELTS is just being ready and getting a little bit lucky in that they ask you about a topic that you've practiced or that you've spoken about before. Okay, so this kind of felt like a little bit nervous or unsure giving his answer, so I'd want him just to practice a little bit more. And then also using in terms of vocabulary, he was clearly trying to use some really high level academic vocabulary. So right at the start, he talked about being perplexed to find information regarding humanity, which actually sounded very strange. Humanity, which actually sounded very sort of strange as he was saying it. It was almost too formal for what he was talking about, and it sounded unnatural. So the better way to phrase that would have been, when I was in elementary school, I had to research about whatever your topic was. I had to research about human geography for my humanities class project, and I was kind of perplexed. I had no idea where to go and search for information. However, luckily, my friend recommended that, okay? So his phrasing here was a little bit unnatural, and I think it was because he was trying to use these words like this. Perplexed is such a fancy word. You would always say with a little bit of surprise, I was perplexed. Okay, and you want to give a little bit of intonation, perplexed. You go up at the end to show that it's kind of like a joke. You're saying, yeah, I'm using this fancy word that you wouldn't normally say out loud. Okay, in terms of grammar, he used some nice phrases. I don't really have free time now, or a bunch of things. So that was quite natural. So overall, I think I would advise this candidate so far to be more confident, practice more. And then also don't worry so much about the academic vocabulary and just work on improving your fluency first. So let's see what they've done for the second question. So the question is asking, some people say that different age groups have different tastes about or regarding internet content. What do you think? And then what are the disadvantages that these people suffer from because they don't use the internet? Okay, so let's see what they answered for this question.
Well, while some people can think there's no gap between the different age groups, I personally believe that there are huge different tastes between the different age groups. For instance, when it comes to teenagers' taste, they prefer finding information on the internet regarding the celebrities or other educational contents. However, in terms of elders, especially businessmen, they prefer finding information regarding the economy or the business, so that they can gain knowledge regarding their field, not like education subjects like mathematics or other subjects that teenagers are studying. So, and when it comes to the disadvantages that people suffer because they don't use the internet, are it is really limited to find information from the books, because by using the internet there are a bunch of contents that can suit people's taste. For instance, books are kind of physical information that people can acquire. People find information physically by reading the book, but in terms of internet information, if I need to repeat again, in order to read a book, they need to go to library. But if they want to find information via internet, they can just open the laptop and find any information or like essays via information. So people suffer from.
Okay, all right. So I think overall it was kind of similar feedback to the first part of it. Okay, in terms of grammar, like not bad, pretty accurate. Again, similar issues in terms of vocabulary, that I think this candidate has been told, oh, you have to use really fancy vocabulary for IELTS. And while that is true, especially in the writing section, you want to make sure you're using high-level academic vocabulary. In the speaking section, it's not so much about the fancy academic words as it is about the natural phrases, okay? So when he says things like there was a bunch of information, or things like that, that's like natural spoken phrases, and that's more important for the speaking than using words like perplexed. His issue again, especially for this one, is fluency. Okay, he's unsure. He doesn't sound confident giving his answers. He doesn't sound like he's practiced, what he wants to say. And obviously, IELTS speaking, you can't know what question they're going to ask you. Okay, so there's always the chance that you're going to walk in and you're going to get a surprising question. But one of the things that you practice by doing the IELTS speaking is you practice talking about new topics. And this is a skill that you can practice by yourself, okay? Which is about reading the question, and don't just think in your head, oh, it's easy. Record yourself, like this candidate has done, speaking for about a minute or 2 minutes on new topics, okay? Being able to speak spontaneously is something that you learn and something you improve. If you think about your teachers in class, they have to get up there and lecture for an hour, 2 hours sometimes. When you first start teaching, that's really difficult to learn how to keep speaking, how to keep explaining things. So this is something that you need to practice, especially if you sound to me like this student who sounds like he's got good English skills, a good vocabulary, a sort of slightly British accent. I feel like he's done study abroad before. You can tend to not focus on your IELTS speaking because you think, oh, speaking, it's so easy. But the thing about IELTS is it's a specific style of speaking, and they want you to hit certain criteria. Okay, so you just need to practice all the different topics they could ask you and practice talking spontaneously about it for a minute or 2 minutes. And then if like this candidate you tried and it was a struggle to talk about that question, go back, listen to yourself, and then do it again. Okay, that's the key part. So his fluency here really let him down because his answer was confused and vague and difficult for me to follow. And it felt rambling, okay, which is a sort of word that we use to describe something that sounds vague. And I think it's not about his English ability at all. It's just about how much he's practiced doing IELTS speaking, okay? So it's a shame that I think that kind of would have let his answer down a little bit. So when we look at how we're going to grade him, grammatical range and accuracy, again, accuracy good, range, you know, he didn't show me much more than sort of your classic past simple and present simple. But it was pretty accurate, okay? So I would want to put him in that sort of 6.0 category. In terms of vocabulary, tries to use these high-level vocabulary, does have some of those native speaker phrases in, but making some mistakes and using them in an unnatural way. Like I pointed out with that sentence about perplexed, okay? So that's sort of limiting down to that 6.0 category. Pronunciation was good. Like, you know, he had intonation features. His voice went up and down. So I would want to give his pronunciation a 6.5. Now, this fluency and coherence was really sort of let him down because I'm putting him in that 6.0. And really, even I could see an argument to put him down to a 5.5, okay? So really, this candidate should be in the 6.5 range, okay? There's clearly capable of doing it. But because this has been let down by his lack of practice, he's sort of stuck in that 6.0 range. Okay, but he really should be hitting a 6.5. And I think just more practice, you know, and more familiarization with what they want you to say, the style they want you to speak in, I think is going to help this candidate out a lot.